movie starts with the woman receives a text message promising answers. It tells her to go to the subway station and search under crossing 1114. She hurries to the station, her heart pounding in her chest. The tunnel is dark and eerie, and she feels a sense of foreboding. Suddenly a train roars towards her, its headlights blazing. She tries to run, but it's too late. The train strikes her and everything goes black. Max, an American computer engineer, is wrapping up his final job in Thailand.
Is your BIOS level password. Without it, nothing works in this room.
As he returns to his hotel to prepare for his journey back home, he's shocked to discover an anonymous package waiting for him. Inside, he finds an ultra-modern phone with no explanation of its purpose. Puzzled, Max puts the device aside and turns on the news. The anchor is reporting on a contentious security funding bill that would give the NSA permission to upgrade its surveillance technology globally. Suddenly, Max receives a message from an unknown sender on the new phone. The message says that the hotel is offering a half-price rate for the upcoming weekend only. Max decides to extend his stay for 2 more days, thanks to the tempting offer, but little does he know that he's just walked into a dangerous trap. At this time in Russia, a bald man receives a text message informing him of another detected phone. Max spends his weekend relaxing but keeping up with current events. He learns that a bill he's been following hasn't passed due to a single vote, but its supporter, NSA Director Burke, remains tight-lipped and refuses to comment on it. Max watches the news and is shocked to hear that the flight he was supposed to take has crashed, with no survivors. However, he's alive thanks to the mysterious phone message he received earlier. Another message arrives advising him to invest in Sizor, but he chooses to ignore it. Later, Max compliments the hotel staff on their clever promotional tactics, but they have no idea what he's talking about. In his room, Max attempts to call the phone company after receiving a cryptic message, but their system shows an unknown sender. Meanwhile, Sizor's shares are rapidly rising, causing Max to miss out on a very lucrative investment. The following day, Max receives another message telling him to travel to Prague, not missing this opportunity. Upon his arrival, Max is offered a ride by a pushy Russian cab driver named Yuri at a very low rate. Despite his reservations, Max agrees to the ride. During the trip, Yuri spots Max using an unreleased phone model and offers him his card as he works with gadgets part-time. Later, Max receives a message to play a specific slot machine at a casino, which will hit the jackpot in 4 spins. He pays the current player to take over the machine and wins the jackpot as predicted. However, the casino's security team notices and begins to monitor Max. Max receives a message to head over to Blackjack Table 6 and change his prize for chips. He bets everything and wins again. However, he's caught looking at his phone by John's security guard, who informs him that phones aren't allowed in the casino. Not wanting to miss out, Max calls Yuri for help to access his texts without his phone. While waiting for Yuri's assistance, Max returns to his hotel and comes across a couple arguing in the hallway. Camila appears distressed, and Max intervenes only to get punched by the guy. Camila takes advantage of the situation and clones Max's phone's SIM card while he's unconscious. Later, Max flirts with Camila, and they agree to meet up. John's team can't find any record of Max's messages in the system, which shouldn't happen. Meanwhile, Max meets with Yuri, who helps him install a Bluetooth text-to-speech transmitter on his phone. This allows Max to enter the casino with just an earpiece. Yuri is also impressed by the anonymous texts, since they conceal the sender's identity. Max wonders if Yuri can uncover the sender's identity, but that requires advanced hacking gadgets that Yuri can only get in Moscow, where he has access to his sophisticated equipment and connection. Max goes back to the casino and follows the instructions he hears in his ear to win again. John and his men notice this on the security cameras and start chasing Max through the building. Just as Max is about to escape, a special agent named Dave from the FBI stops him and arrests him. John insists that Max is their guy, but Dave doesn't listen and takes him away. Dave takes Max to an abandoned warehouse where he threatens him with his gun to get information about a phone. Max denies knowing anything, and Dave eventually believes him and leaves him alone for some time. Later, John finds out where Dave is hiding and goes to see him. He demands answers, so Dave tells him that they are investigating people who receive financial tips through text messages. These recipients are American, but there doesn't seem to be any pattern to who receives them. The first recipient was an executive at a major credit bureau, the second was a realtor, and the third was the woman from the subway station who worked as an IT administrator at the Department of Defense. Someone has sent a message asking for the firewalls to be shut down to the Pentagon servers. The sender cannot be tracked, and all the recipients have died in suspicious circumstances. However, thanks to Burke's advanced spying system, the FBI was able to intercept the texts and locate Max. To avoid going to jail, Max agrees to work with John and Dave. For his own safety, Max must remain in the hotel, and Dave will keep his phone for the night. The following day, John meets with Muller, the casino owner, who orders him to use all available resources to locate the author of these texts. Meanwhile, Dave contacts Burke, who agrees to activate his tracking system in 3 hours. Max is left alone in the hotel, feeling bored until Camila calls him. They decide to have a drink at the hotel hotel bar and bond over personal stuff. However, their talk is interrupted when John and Dave arrive to pick up Max. They've isolated the signal, and the plan is to obtain 3 messages to lock it. John gives Max extra chips for the game. Max returns to the casino and gambles everything away. Unfortunately, luck isn't on his side this time, and he loses. Suddenly, he receives a threatening message warning him not to turn off his phone again, or else he'll be killed. Situation is dangerous, but the message helps Burke's men to track the sender's location to Maryland, USA. However, Burke becomes alarmed when he hears about the location and orders all tracking systems to be shut down. He contacts Dave and aborts the mission, suspecting the involvement of the NSA's Echelon surveillance program. Dave informs Max and John about the termination, but keeps the reasons classified. John suspects that Echelon may be involved. At the NSA headquarters, Burke is going crazy trying to find out who hacked into Echelon to send the messages. However, the system doesn't show any unauthorized access. Later, John tells Mueller about Dave's theory about Echelon, and Mueller orders him to keep an eye on Max. The mysterious organization may try to contact him again since he's still alive. That evening, Max goes to Camila's home where they talk about their feelings and spend the night together. The next morning, Camila receives a phone call reminding her to keep Max occupied and inside their apartment. While Camila is busy, someone sends a text with an address to Max's phone. To check it, Dave sends an agent pretending to be Max. But the plan fails, and the agent gets killed in a car accident caused by someone tampering with the stoplights. Meanwhile, Max is researching a system called Echelon, which the government uses to spy on citizens' phone calls and emails. The government also wants to install cameras in people's homes without Congress's approval. To distract Max, Camila mentions his hometown of Omaha, which he never told her about. Max realizes Camila is working for someone and feels deceived. However, before they can talk about it, Camila spots a sniper on a rooftop and pushes Max to the ground to save him from getting shot. Camila finds herself in a dangerous situation as mercenaries and a sniper approach her apartment. She quickly hides Max in the bathroom and attempts to retrieve the gun she has hidden under the kitchen table. Unfortunately, the sniper spots her and shoots her arm, forcing her to abandon the gun. In a moment of desperation, Camila stabs the door with a fire poker, killing one of the mercenaries. The other mercenary hears Max in the bathroom and attempts to enter. Camila bravely fights him and with Max's help defeat the attacker. However, the sniper manages to escape when he hears the sound of police siren approaching. Suddenly, John enters the bathroom, and it turns out he is an ally of Camila's. With her apartment compromised, John takes Max away with him while Dave finds the phone and receives a threatening message asking him to get Max, or he himself will be killed. Max leaves together with John, who warns him that escaping from the NSA is not easy, and they should hide for a while. Max suggests they go to Moscow to meet Yuri, who may help analyze his SIM card. John disagrees, but Max convinces him that Russia has better technology, and they have no other options. John has cloned SIM card's data, and he can ask Mueller for safe transfer to Russia. After arriving in Moscow, Dave follows them on Burke's orders, as his spying system reveals their location. John and Max meet Yuri, who refuses to do anything with SIM card. John threatens Yuri and convinces him to finish the task in 3 hours. Later, John reveals to Max why he left the FBI. It turns out he disagreed with Burke's tracking policies and talked too much. Upon returning to Yuri's place after 3 hours, John and Max discover that Echelon itself had sent the messages. Echelon had used its spying capabilities to intercept fuel analysis to predict flight crash and read messages to stockholders to gain information on Sizor stocks, as well as on the casino by tracking slot machines and counting cards. Their conversation is interrupted by the arrival of the FBI, prompting John and Max to escape stealing a neighbor's van. They end up in a car chase that ends when they take a wrong turn and get stopped in front of a passing train. John shoots and blows up Dave's car. Dave returns the phone to Max and admits that they need him because Echelon will only communicate with him, and not even Burke can control him now. The NSA is aware that Echelon is sending the messages. Max threatens Dave with his own gun. However, Dave promises to help Max and convinces him to work together. The next message they receive includes the address of the first IT job Max ever did, so they decide to go to Omaha. The place they are headed to is a hangar that was purchased by a startup with the intention of leasing data transfer line. Max has always found it peculiar to house servers in such a building, and even the potential clients were dissatisfied with it. The company was sold at an auction before it was even opened, and the current owner cannot be located. As a result, the place has remained untouched since its sale. The FBI has to use explosives to enter an empty building that contains only servers. Max receives a message to authorize BIOS, which would allow the servers to receive data from outside sources. With permission from Burke, Max begins to work on the task using his admin's password, and he quickly gains access to the servers. However, they find that the servers are empty. The group leaves the building feeling disappointed, but another agent arrives with crucial information. The owner of the building was the real estate agent who died after receiving messages like Max did. Furthermore, the credit card that was used to purchase Max's phone belonged to the same person. This arouses Max's suspicion, forcing him to return to the building. To his surprise, he discovers that Echelon they have been trying to track down is moving into the new servers. As a result, Burke no longer has any control over system, and Max was selected because he is only one who knew the password to the server. Echelon managed to escape from the Pentagon by using the IT woman from the train to lower the firewalls. Since Congress did not approve the update, Echelon has relocated so that it can upgrade itself. The servers that he is currently occupying is only a temporary location. In the near future, Echelon plans to occupy every computer on the internet. Dave gives Max the order to put a stop to it, but Max receives a message telling him not to even attempt it. It is at this point that Max realizes that Echelon is showing him financial records, which means that it has taken the entire population's money hostage. This information also explains the last victim who worked for the country's largest credit data storage facility. Max is attempting to bypass the security failsafes to prevent the upgrade without any negative consequences. On the other hand, Burke refuses to shut down Echelon, as it is what he has always wanted. He no longer needs to wait for Congress to make any changes since he now has the president's approval. Dave and John disagree with Burke's orders and refuse to follow them. This leads to Dave's termination, and Burke sends other agents to apprehend them. Dave and John are trying to protect themselves, but they have limited weapons at their disposal, making the situation even more challenging. However, Max comes up with an idea to communicate with Echelon, using the computer's camera and microphone. Through his conversation with Echelon, Max gains an understanding of its primary purpose in protecting the national security of the United States. He defines it as protecting the freedoms of citizens that are safeguarded by the Constitution. Any threat to that freedom must be eliminated, so Max forces Echelon to search for online articles that spoke against the update bill, and Echelon concludes that the bill is a threat to American freedom. As a result, Echelon shuts down just before the FBI arrests everyone. Later, Burke takes responsibility for the situation to the President and the Senate Intelligence Oversight Committee. However, his explanations are insufficient, and he may face the consequences of his actions. Mueller celebrates the resolution of the issue, and Max is released from prison after Camila pays for the bail of Max and others. No charges are pressed as people do not want the public to learn about what happened. As Burke is in difficult situation, John is considering an offer from Dave to return to the FBI. Meanwhile, Max has been reunited with Camila, who reveals that Mueller has sent money for the bail and a large sum of money as a thank you to Max. Feeling like he needs a break, Max invites Camila to France, fulfilling her dream. While they are making plans, Max receives a message from Yuri, congratulating him on a job well done. Yuri is still in Moscow, but circumstances have changed. He is shaved, and he is wearing his captain uniform again. He has actually been working for the Russian security service all along. His boss praises him for his actions that have helped the Americans to make the right decision. Make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you can watch more videos like this. Thanks for watching.